If you're watching this video, you're probably moving to Southern Maryland, and one of your questions is probably, what's the weather like here? So I'm going to tell you about all 4 seasons in this video and some severe weather you should watch out for. Hey, my name is Rob Scout. I'm a realtor down here in Southern Maryland with EXP Realty, and the goal of this channel is to help make your move to Southern Maryland so much easier. So if you're looking to move to Southern Maryland, use that contact information below. Call me, text me, and I'd be happy to help any way that I possibly can. So let's jump right into it. Right now, it is January 17th and it's winter in Southern Maryland. If you look outside of my house right now, there is about 4 inches of snow left, and forecasted temperatures for next week are not supposed to get out of 20 degrees, higher than 20 degrees. But at the same time, let me reassure you of something. That is not normal. Winter in Southern Maryland normally sees a little bit of snowfall, probably on average for the whole winter, 3 to 4 inches or so. And we actually got 8 or 9 inches just recently. That is like almost twice as much as we would normally get. Also, temperature wise, 40s as highs are kind of like the normal in that January time frame, and even in December you'll start seeing some 40s near the tail end of December, but you can expect some 50s and even 60s in December. I can remember multiple Christmases where it was 50 to 60 degrees outside, but I can also remember a few that were actually white Christmases. Now, February starts that transition from winter to spring for us, and the beginning of February feels very much like winter. You can get some of the bigger snowstorms in that end of January into February time frame, but once the end of February comes, you do get kind of like a false spring. You'll start seeing crocuses and daffodils kind of come out of the ground. Now, sometimes that's followed by a little bit of snow or something like that, but for the most part, once you get into March around here, the snow is over. And if it does snow in March, it normally melts pretty quickly because the days are getting longer and the temperatures are normally warmer the day after that snow occurs. Now we're into March, April, May, and that is solid springtime. By late April, it feels like full-on spring, and days are in the 60s and 70s, and nights are in the 40s or 50s. This is some of the best weather, in my opinion, in Southern Maryland around that, springtime, late April to early May, because the humidity is low, the temperatures can be nice and warm, and it's just a great time to be outside and get stuff done, or just go and enjoy a hike. Now, the end of May to the end of June is really where you start feeling some of those summer days. Now, highs can be up into the 80s and even sometimes touch 90 in late June, and by the time you're getting late June into August, those are the dog days of summer. Now, summers in Southern Maryland can be very hot, and another thing they can be, and definitely are most of the time, is humid. One of the biggest complaints I get from a lot of people, especially moving from out west, is that the humidity is a killer out here, and they're not wrong. It can get so sticky and feel so gross when you're here in the summertime because it can be 95 degrees and near 90% humidity, and it can make it feel really uncomfortable. That being said, it's not oppressive to the point that you can't go outside, think like Phoenix or Arizona out in the middle of summertime, and you can still get out and do stuff, but you do want to kind of restrict the amount of time you're out during the day, like in that 2 to 3, 2 to 4 kind of range, because that's when it's going to be the most humid and the hottest as well. And of course, then you go into fall, and fall starts in late September, and again, that's a really great time of the year because the humidity starts to drop, the temperatures start to drop as well. You're getting some nice days in the 80s still at the end of September, but then it's cooling off into the 70s and 60s, and the nights are starting to get that nice, crisp fall air. Now, if you're asking me my favorite seasons, I'm going to say it's summer. I love summer because I can go out on the boat, go fishing, and go crabbing, and there's just so much to do outside. After that, it's going to be fall, and then spring, and my least favorite, just because I don't like being cold, and a lot of the things I like to do outside, like crabbing and fishing, kind of go dormant during that time, would be winter. It's just not my favorite around here, but there is some beauty to be had when it snows, walking around in the different trails and stuff like that, or around St. Mary's Lake, and just checking out nature. Now, as far as severe weather goes, the most common one is thunderstorms. In the summertime, we get a fair amount of thunderstorms, and some of them can turn out to be severe. Now, with severe thunderstorms, you're looking at high winds, possibly hail, and some tornadoes as well. And if you ask any local, especially around the La Plata area, about tornadoes, they'll surely tell you about the tornado that went through downtown La Plata many years ago. Now, with that being said, tornadoes aren't that common around here. It's not like Tornado Alley where they're getting them all the time with these severe storms. We probably get 1 or 2 a year, and most of them are kind of radar confirmed and not touching down on the ground and don't do a whole bunch of damage. But the wind and the lightning and the rain from these thunderstorms can do a good amount of damage around and to your property. Now, another natural disaster that comes up here sometimes, of course, is a tropical storm or a hurricane. We get tropical storms more often than hurricanes. I can't remember the last hurricane that came through, but I think it was in 2011, which would be Irene. So that's what, 13 years ago. But we do get tropical storms every once in a while as well. And for the most part, they are more of an inconvenience than a threat to your property or life. But it's something that you want to keep track of and you want to keep an eye on, because they can sneak up and they can get up the coast and they can really cause some havoc. Now, going to winter, we don't see many blizzards here. I can probably count on my, one hand how many times I've seen a blizzard warning in Southern Maryland or in Maryland in general. So that's not a huge concern. Another concern that a lot of people have moving to an area like Maryland is flooding. Now, you do have to worry about coastal flooding. So if you live on the water and there's a certain wind or a hurricane's coming up the bay, there can be some serious coastal flooding that occurs. And there is stuff called aerial flooding, which means flooding that's occurring because of rain. And we get that some in Southern Maryland, but not nearly as other places like up in DC and places like that, where a lot of tributaries come down into rivers and can flood. So flooding is a concern more so for homes that are on the water around the Chesapeake Bay, but not really flooding like you see on the news, like in Vermont and Pennsylvania, where these big creeks will start filling up and really flood properties. And so that's just a basic overview of the weather in Southern Maryland. And if you want to follow a really good Facebook page of someone who's really dialed into the weather in Southern Maryland, it's called JB Weather on Facebook. I have the page right up on the screen right now, and he's great about keeping you informed when big events are coming. Look, I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions about moving to Southern Maryland, use that contact information below. Call me, text me, and I'd be happy to help any way that I possibly can. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.